Hey guys, TK07 here with another review. This time I'll be reviewing the TK07 Kamen Rider Mach from Kamen Rider Drive. This is the 7th entry in the entire Koukan series, and Kamen Rider Mach, the secondary rider, in figure form. So this includes a few things: 1 figure, 3 signals, and 1 weapon. So to start, let's take a look at Kamen Rider Mach himself. So for the main body, it's done up in a nice metallic white plastic similar to Kamen Rider Zangetsu, and kind of in contrast to Drive, who is actually themed after a car itself. Instead of Mach being based off a motorcycle, he's more based off a motorcycle rider. So starting with the helmet, this is very much based on a motorcycle helmet, and is actually divided into 2 parts. There's the actual main helmet piece, and then the visor, which is clipped on the sides. So for the actual helmet, that's a nice mold-on details. And the only bits of paint are the 2 red racing stripes that go from the back of the helmet all the way down the front and even onto the visor piece. Enforced visor, got a clear plastic visor actually there. 2 metallic silver antennae, which are made of flexible plastic. A kind of rider signal, or kind of light that a lot of modern riders have in between the eyes here, painted in blue. We've got again the racing stripes continuing down here. Now, one interesting feature is you can actually lift up the visor, just like so, to reveal the face mask underneath, with metallic blue motorcycle goggles here, and then a kind of face mask or face plate down here. The interesting thing here is that with this you can clearly see that it's a single solid piece, but when you lower the visor, because of this piece in the middle, it makes it look like 2 separate eyes, giving it kind of an homage to the Showa riders. Taking a look at the body, and see it's very slim and sleek. But it's got some nice details. You can see some good mold-on details on the upper chest. And then you've got some more red racing stripes, but instead of going in the center, it goes down the left side. It also goes down the side where you have his symbol, which is done up with a yellow background on black. Then the racing stripes continue down, though they don't go down the same length, as this one only goes from here to here. This one goes down to the belt. Those also has some nice blue, or rather black paint for the abdomen details to make them stand out. You've got the Mach driver Hono done up in metallic blue paint, with the belt straps in metallic silver. And similar to how the shift brace on the Drive figures has a generic shift car, the Mach driver here has a generic signal bike in there. And here we'll also take a look at his arms individually, since they have different details. For the left arm, you have a simple shoulder pad, then a pretty simple arm design, though for the forearm it has this nice metallic bronze striping with little divots in between. And the left hand right here, just showing you the whole thing of that bronze striping. For the right arm, you got the right shoulder, which has his signal on it. It is actually a separate piece from the shoulder itself. It's kind of wrapped around the shoulder and moves with it. Then going down, you have this piece on his forearm. It is basically a motorcycle chassis. The reason why it's here is something I'll show off a bit later, and then it'll make sense. See a lot of nice molded detail on it. You can kind of see kind of the outline of it, the seat here, kind of windshield here, and other details on the sides. And then of course his other fist. Going down to his legs, for the thighs, it has similar striping to the left arm, but done in metallic blue. And then there's a little discrepancy here because of the way that these are kind of molded. As for the upper thighs, it's done in the same plastic as the rest of his body, with some black paint and metallic blue paint, but then you also have this white paint here that clearly doesn't match up, though it at least lines up with the rest of the thigh. Then you've got his knee pads here, and the lower legs here, getting down to the very simple feet. And on the back, you see it has this scarf piece here, which is another homage to the Showa riders. This is done on a ball joint in flexible plastic. It also has the two red racing stripes. The rest of his back is also pretty simple. It's got the neat details, though it's nowhere near as complex as the back of drive suits. Articulation-wise, the head is on a ball joint. Arms rotate 360 degrees, and though it has the signal on this shoulder, it actually doesn't hinder the rotation as it's angled to where it'll just go past the body. Arms go in and out. Single joint elbow. Wrist swivel. And two separate finger joints. Then waist swivel. Legs go forward and back, in and out. Thigh swivel. Single joint knees. And ball joint ankles. So then you have his three signals. First being the default Korean signal or rear wheel signal, as I installed right now. And so all of the signals have a very simple, base design of the motorcycle tire here, with a white stripe around it, similar to how Drive's type tires are styled. And for this one, it has a metallic silver dome, or metallic white dome, with a thin red ring going around it from here to here. And then in the part that's missing, you have the word rider. Now, because these are based on a joint that's basically the same thing as a tire Koukan joint, you can also spin the signals in place, though this is not a feature that's been showed in the show. The other two signals are the Magaru signal and the Kakusan signal. So for these, instead of having the dome, they instead have a different piece that is raised but then flattened out for the actual signal. And these are done as metallic stickers, which are basically smaller versions of the ones on the signal bikes. As you can see, it has the same design and even the same kind of texture in the background, or pattern in the background. And these are both done in a metallic blue. This included weapon is the Zenrin shooter. This is done in the same plastic as his body. Has all the details it needs to, including all the details for the signal bike slot, and even the intricate details for the actual inner wheel, though the only paint here is actually on the wheel. So of course this can be held, specifically in his right hand, as that's how it's done in the show. You have it held just like so. Then, by kind of angling it out like that, you see the effect I was talking about earlier, which is that when you have this all together, basically turns his right arm into a motorcycle, with the Zenrin shooter being the front wheel, the forearm being the body, and then the Korean signal being the rear wheel. When it all comes together, it's actually a pretty cool effect. And then, of course, since this is part of the Tower Koukan series, we can Tower Koukan, or in this case, Signal Koukan. Bring this back.
Signal Koukan! Magaru!
So, for the Magaru signal, we'll just take off the default signal and make sure to line everything up properly. And just snap it into place. And there you have Kamen Rider Mach Magaru. So, yeah, for these, it's just switching out the signal. You still spin in place, but the signals themselves don't actually have any gimmicks. So really the thing to do with these is kind of to just kind of pose him however you want and kind of imagine that he's using the signal's power. And then next would be the Kakusan signal.
Signal! Signal to bike! Signal Koukan! Kakusan!
And so for the Kakusan signal, it's the same thing. Take off the one signal, then replace it with the one you want. So there you have Kamen Rider Mach Kakusan. Again, this really does just change the signal here, but at least it does let you know which power he's using. So again, you can pose him accordingly. And really, the nice thing here is that because this piece actually moves with the shoulder, it does mean that, you won't have this part bumping into here and restricting the articulation, which was definitely a very good choice on Bandai's part. Now, because this is your standard Tower Koukan port, you can of course use any of Drive's tires. Just for example, we'll use the Max Flare tire that just snaps on like it signals. Unfortunately for Mach, this doesn't work quite so well as a kind of signal tire as it does on Drive Type Wild, just because it goes in this front angle and it does kind of block his face a little bit. Though it does move with the shoulder, because of it's so big, it will instead kind of bump into the head. Even if you kind of fold in the flares that pop out. But this does mean that you can use any of the tires you collected up to this point on Kamen Rider Mach, just like you can on any of Drive's forms or types, as well as Mach and Chaser. And this is actually something that's impossible in the show, as when Mach uses a shift card in the show, instead gives him a signal with that shift card symbol on it. And of course, as would be expected, that affects the shots of the Zenrin shooter. So really what you've got here is, kind of something that is toy only, and so it's kind of something that's unique to this figure. Yeah, back on like that. There we go. So overall, this is a pretty good figure. It definitely is very nice as far as the Tired Koukan figure goes. In terms of being part of the gimmick figure lines, has all the right details, has all the right articulations, and I definitely applaud them for making the port with a signal basically something that moves with the arm so that it doesn't hinder articulation. So you can still do the signal Koukan switching, you can still have a signal on there, but you can still get them into a wide variety of poses. I definitely applaud them for actually having this feature on there, as they probably could have easily had this be just a molded on piece and just had this painted over, but they did take the time and effort to make this a feature of the figure, which I do appreciate. The Zenrin is of course nicely molded, and like I said, with it on and with the right angles, it does create a cool effect with the piece on the forearm and the signal on his right shoulder. The included signals are all nice. Of course, this doesn't have quite as dynamic an effect as Drive's Tired Koukans, but at the same time you can still use his tires on Mach. Of course, you can't do the opposite for Drive just because of how these have, of course, because of how small these are, and because of how they're blocked off on one side. Now, there will be an SH Figure Arts version of Kamen Rider Mach coming out, so really, if you want, the kind of more high quality figure that has better articulation and better details, then you might want to go for that one. But I think that, if you're collecting the Tired Koukan figures, you should definitely go for this version of Mach, because he's definitely a really good figure, and it is definitely cool that, he's got both his own signal Koukans and can use any of Drive's tires. So in that sense, I would definitely recommend this guy to someone who's collecting the Tired Koukan figures. So, thanks for watching. Please rate, comment, subscribe, and share my channel for more videos. And for now, this is TK07, writing off.